Thank you for joining us for the Emerging Leaders series of the NACVA and the Consultants Training Institute. I'm Brien Jones, Chief Operating Officer and Executive Vice President. Very excited to have with me as guests for this segment leaders from the African Association of Certified Valuators and Analysts, AACVA. NACVA over the last 2 years has been working to bring back our international CVA members under the administration of headquarters in the United States. And we have established the charter of AACVA with these two wonderful gentlemen who I've got with me here, Bennet Kpentey and Michael Cobblah. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
So glad to have you joining us.
Excellent.
After all of these years of pioneering business valuation in the motherland of Africa, we're glad to actually now have the opportunity to be coordinating with you directly from our offices here in the U.S. So I first want to say thank you and for all of your efforts over all of these years, and let's talk a little bit about what you guys have been doing and some of your goals and objectives going forward. Let's start with you, Bennet. Tell us a little bit about those early days when we established the charter and why. What was it that sort of got the ball rolling? What was the interest? And tell us about how you all got started.
Thank you very much, Brian. You know, you've been part of the story right from the beginning. And I would say what I would call the early years was around 2004 when we started looking for an opportunity to build up business valuation, not only in Ghana, but in Africa. And importantly, to get some kind of credential, process in place. So I attended a conference, I think, in Kansas City, sometime in 2005, and that was when it got started.
Okay.
Yeah, and the main thing was to really get this collaboration, meet people who do business valuation, know what standards apply, so we could get it back, and then be part of the global community in terms of, doing the right things as far as business valuation is concerned.
Yeah. Over the years, what have been some of the activities that you all have been building in Africa for training and education and networking, and also educating the business community about the services that you all provide?
Yeah, I would say we've come a very long way. It was very difficult from the beginning, trying to get people to appreciate that business valuation is a special skill. You need credential to really, do the right things. Before then, a lot of people who did valuation were accountants. No formal training in, business valuation, but once you're an accountant, then the assumption is that you can do business valuation. We've come a very long way to really explain to people that you need a separate credential. Now, people in Ghana, business people ask questions as to whether you have the capacity, whether you have the credential to do business valuation. So with the introduction of the credential and also the training that we provided to our members, we kind of have made a distinction, and the market is responding appropriately. In terms of things that we've done, I would say we've done training. We've done quite a number of training, all the way from training on the standards to how to apply, for instance, the various methodologies, the things to look for, how to, get your cost of capital right, and the like. We had a challenge in terms of information. Because we don't have a lot of the published data as you have in the US. So what we had to do was actually go back to basics. So a lot of the information that we use, practitioners use to value businesses, actually almost like primary information, because you need to go to the field, you need to speak to companies, to private equity firms, financial institutions and the like, be able to get a sense of what, for instance, the cost of equities and what the cost of debt is, to be able to come up with your valuation.
So for those who may not be as aware of the economic opportunities and the different industries in Africa, talk about what some of those are and how they impact your chapter.
What I would say is that in terms of opportunities, investors are aware. business people are aware. The thing is, sometimes they are not able to price risk because they don't have relationship with professionals. Now we have positioned ourselves such that now those interested parties are able to get in touch with us for us to help them. Now, if you take sectors, for instance, oil and gas is a major thing in Africa. Okay. Nigeria, produce a lot of oil. Angola, Ghana actually produces oil now. When you take the extractive sectors as well, mining, a lot of mining, activities, happen in Africa, South Africa for gold, Ghana for gold. We have manganese in Ghana and the like. And Liberia has a lot of iron ore, for instance. Now, for most of the multinationals, their interest is, okay, so what value should we place on the concessions? What value do you place on an oil well, for instance? And the critical thing is that now we have professionals with expertise to help them appropriately price the risk to be able to make decisions regarding investment and also putting money into some of these opportunities.
So you're, Michael, on the board of directors, board of governors for the AACVA. What are some of the activities that your board is taking on?
Well, I think that essentially it's training. Like Bennet said in the beginning, the challenge has been in the past that accountants have been seen as valuers, and that perception needs to be changed. And we're working aggressively towards doing that. So in our coverage areas, South Africa, Nigeria, Ghana, Kenya, so we try to cover the East, South, and West African blocks. The idea is to intensify the training for people to understand and appreciate the concepts. One of the things that we pride ourselves very often is we live in a regime where the typical mistakes that maybe 10 years ago or some 15 years ago was being done in the US, where people in valuation would aggregate all kinds of methodologies that have been challenged by the courts. We brought that to bear. And sometimes people even in academia, we've had to challenge thoughts, processes, and to say, look, the way to do it is to narrow down on one valuation methodology and use the others as comparatives. Something like that for me is significant because then we are building the knowledge base and also getting people to appreciate that this is a separate discipline that needs to be given a special focus. So going forward, we believe that it's going to be essentially training. We are looking at specialized industries like Bennet alluded to. Oil and gas is becoming a big thing. We having companies like ENI invested about $7 billion in the Ghanaian economy, which is a big number.
Sure.
In South Africa, energy needs, Nigeria, energy needs, and Nigeria has just gone. Nigeria is one of the biggest economies in Africa, so West Africa, and you realize that they've just gone through a successful election. The new president is saying that he's taking on the oil and gas industry as the minister, de facto minister for that. So that signals a change. That look, things are not going to be the same, things are going to be done differently. And once Nigeria gets its act together, it's going to affect the entire sub-region because they have the advantage of size and population, and energy is going to be key driving force. I would say that even in Ghana and even in South Africa, they've had energy challenges because, look, everybody says Africa is the next investment frontier. And people are moving investments from Europe, from Africa, from Asia. Asia loves the African resources. They'll trade anything for the resources that extractive industries that we have. So energy is becoming an important factor. And investments in these sectors and being able to place a value on the risk and to price the risk appropriately are things that we envisage that we need to empower our members to be able to grab the very nature of the methodologies that they need to value and advise clients accordingly who want to venture into these markets. Yeah.
So how many members do you have, and what kind of activities are you taking on to be involved with the federal regulators? You mentioned there's a new president that's come in. What type of activities or trainings or awareness are you building within your chapter?
Right. We are about 100 members across about 6 countries.
Okay.
But we have 50 members who are active the other members, obviously, you don't always have, the totality of your membership.
Right.
In terms of how we are engaging regulators, for instance, we met with the Securities and Exchange Commission. We actually met the Director General, and we had discussions in terms of what we can, support them to do, because a lot of the companies that list on the stock exchange, are valued. Mm-hmm. And sometimes the people who value these companies are not our members. So what we've been trying to do, the discussion we've had so far, is to get to a point where we could provide some kind of quality assurance and advise them whether the valuations are they meet the required standards or not. The other thing is that we do quite a number of radio programs. So we actually go on air, and they are very important sessions or programs that we sit in and then talk about business valuation for about an hour or so, educate the general public, the business community, that look, it's not everybody who does business valuation. It's important to get it right. Because the thing is, in the past, people have focused on tangible value.
Right.
And we all know that.
Right.
Sometimes in some companies, especially in the services sector, the value is actually not in the company, in the fixed assets of the company. So we got to the point where people are beginning to ask the question, so what is my value? Mm-hmm. And we believe that a lot of the public relations we have done is helping, especially the SMEs, to ask those questions. Now, when those questions are asked, obviously, they're going to come to AACVA because they know we have the capacity and expertise to do that. What we also do is to train our members. And Michael has emphasized that over and over again. In fact, every 2 months when we have in our meeting, the first part of the meeting is training for our members. So we take all our members through typical business valuation, in a particular sector. So we've done that for hospitality, we've done that for the mining sector, we've done that for service sector, we've done that for real estate. So all of us are beginning to learn, how business valuation will apply in specific sectors. So we would say that we've helped in standardizing, because it got to a point where now our members are beginning to challenge their companies in terms of how they do their valuations, because the standards we have are not applied in those companies. Okay. So we think we actually brought a major a seismic shift, so to say, in the thinking in terms of, how businesses should be valued.
That's a big deal. That's an interesting approach too. So you've gone to these industries, these specific sectors, and you've given them some training and orientation as to how valuation applies to their specific industry.
Exactly.
That's a really great approach.
Precisely, because we all know that different methods apply in different sectors. So it's important for the practitioners and also the people in those sectors to know that, look, in my sector, certain methodologies will not apply, because sometimes when you're not trained and you're not qualified, you just pick a method and then you apply it to any sector.
Right. Yeah.
But of course.
And I think one of the things that also excites our members is talking about key value drivers in each industry.
Okay.
And I think that's one of the things that we try to emphasize during our trainings, by our monthly trainings. We bring these members together, and one person shares, who is an expert in that industry, shares what are the key value drivers to look out for, which eventually impacts on your valuation.
Right.
And that's kind of very revealing, because unless you're an industry person, you will not know what to touch or where the touch and feel is to be able to know where the real value is. So telecom valuations, we've gone through a regime where
we've gone to telecom.
Yes, we have had what do we call it? Our governments going through divestiture programs.
Okay.
And some governments have changed and they have questioned whether it was a fair value. So people are now beginning to look at fairness opinions and things like that. And all these things have been referred to some of our members. And for us, it excites us, because then all of a sudden we become very relevant in seeking a fairness opinion. From any of the top 4 accounting firms who have done valuations in the past by virtue of their name. But now people are looking for credentials.
Sure.
To be sure that these are real, tried and tested methods that will be accepted anywhere in the world.
Well, it must be also a benefit to your members that you have been been providing this education, this perspective to these industries, because it then presents opportunities for your members to then specialize.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, that's got to be as important as anything is giving your members that opportunity to put their valuation to work in specific industries. Yeah, to build their individual practices too. That's a great. So what are some of the goals that you have for your association? Some of the, now that we're thinking forward and we're collaborating more together, what are some of the things that you'd like to see happen for AACVA over the next few years?
All right, I would share a couple of them, and Michael would add. I think the first one is growth. In fact, we've had a discussion over and over again. Of course, as you are aware, we've gone through a transition. So the next couple of years, the next 3 to 5 years, AACVA is going to focus on growth in Ghana and the 3 other countries, South Africa, Kenya, and Nigeria. That will be one of our immediate and also medium and long-term goals. In addition to that is how to get a lot more of our members credentialed. Of course, this year we haven't done any exams yet because we're waiting to get the exams on stream.
All updated,
Updated, and then get them to take the exam. So another goal will be to get a lot more people to take the credential exam, that is CVA. And what has happened over the years is that fortunately, almost, we have, let me say, we have trainers, and because we had gone through the training program. So Michael actually trains, I train.
Okay.
Now we have 4 other people who train.
Okay.
So what had happened over the years is that we take our members through, instead of bringing somebody from the US to come and train, we're able to do the training, take them through the material so they can write the exam. The good news is that all the people we have trained have made it.
Oh, good.
So that is great, and we feel it's a major achievement. The other thing is, of course, we are administering the exams in Africa, which for us is a major development, because during our time we could only get exams in the US. And now
That should help.
It's a big shift.
We've come a very long way, because if you think about the cost of even hotels, so let's assume you're going to take the CVA and you have to travel to a training center in the US. You have to buy your ticket, you have to get a hotel and all that. So it was a very difficult in the past. Now, because of our association with NACVA and also the collaboration, we don't have to go through that anymore. Now, back home in Ghana, they take the exam. In fact, a gentleman in Nigeria who took the credential exam and passed had to travel 45 minutes by air, come to Ghana, and then write the exam. So we believe that in terms of achievement, we have brought major transformation, to that space, the business valuation space in Africa. The other thing is to also build, a network of people who are up to date on the standards. Because what we feel is that you want to be at a point where, when evaluation is done in Ghana or Nigeria, Kenya or South Africa, it really doesn't matter. I mean, somebody in the US should take the evaluation and say that this is well done.
Sure.
Because we are applying the same standards, across, and it should be the same for Europe as well. And the thing is, it's about getting to the point where we're part of the international standards, so everybody can question and then get similar responses, because we've learned the same things and our members are up to speed on that. So I would say these are 3 key things that really will be driving us in terms of objectives.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of collaboration, we're looking to partner with some of the higher educational institutions to get some of the professors and doctors in finance actively interested in the CVA, so that they can promote it on their campuses as well.
That's really great.
Yeah, so once someone then goes to a business school in any of the universities in Africa, the CVA becomes like a household term. I mean, for them, looking up into the future, if they want to get some credentials. So we are trying to develop different categories of membership on that score: honorary members and passive members and what have you. And those who do not necessarily want to have the CVA, but at least they know about it and can associate with it. We intend to have various breakfast meetings and interactions with captains of industry, for instance, to tell them how valuation can impact on their businesses in the different sectors that we have coverage. The other next big thing in Africa is public-private partnerships, and PPP is the next thing. We've gone through a wave of privatization, a wave of restructuring, and all kinds of things, structural adjustment programs. I think that the next financing scheme that Africans are exploring is a private-public partnership schemes. And what is interesting about it is that the key components of this is allocation of risk. And if the public sector is partnering with the private sector, one needs to begin to look at the long-term valuation of the projects that they are looking at, and exit mechanisms and things like that. And so there again, we become relevant if we position ourselves very well to be the advisor of choice for any international companies that want to come in and partner the public sectors in Africa to roll out PPP programs and projects. So that's essentially what we're trying to do to build.
And actually, to add to that, we actually have been successful. We have one of our professors who actually lectures finance at a business school to join us. And of course, it's because of the point Mike made about getting them on board, and also ensuring that irrespective of background, if you want to do valuation, you need to at least associate, because you're looking at standards, you're looking at credentials and all that. So eventually we got one person. The critical thing is to do that in the other 3 countries. For instance, as we speak now, we have a rep in South Africa. Now we're going to begin to work with him to build a base for AACVA in South Africa. Now we'll do the same for Nigeria. We already have an individual who has passed the CVA, so we believe he has the capacity to start that. We've had that discussion already. And of course, we have to go back to Kenya. We used to have an individual, but didn't express interest, so we need to go back to Kenya. And the reason why those 4 countries are important for us, if you look at the financial services sector, if you look at skill set, training and all that, you see a concentration in those 4 countries. Now, this is not to say that we don't have concentration in other countries, but because these are English-speaking countries, you want to start in those countries before we can expand to the other countries. And the other thing is that when you take South Africa, for instance, South Africa covers the southern part of Africa. If we take Kenya, Kenya covers the eastern part of Africa, and then we have Ghana, Nigeria, western part of Africa. So kind of covering the whole continent from 4 locations.
Well, and what we spoke about previously too is with the alliance with the European Association of CVA. One of the long-term goals that we have to support both of the chapters, particularly in the French-speaking countries in Africa, and building our French members. There's some opportunity for us to bridge our international chapters to help collaborate some of those efforts in other countries in Africa. It's also very wonderful to hear, like here in the U.S., we're also have quite an outreach to universities. In fact, we are partnering with about a dozen master's MBA programs in economics, finance, and accounting. We have developed turnkey syllabus so that these universities can implement our curriculum, exercises, homework, case studies, exams, so that the students can be CVA candidates by the time they graduate. So we can definitely talk about supporting that exact same structure for you all, because we've got it. So we can, exactly. So that was very good to hear. It's very much in line with what we're trying to accomplish too.
And then to add to that, and this is interesting, because one of the strategic things we have done is to introduce a new kind of membership. We call them student members. So we're actually beginning to enroll potential CVAs who are in the university who have just graduated to become part of the CVA. Of course, they benefit from the association, but an important thing is to give them an opportunity to eventually become CVAs. And that's kind of an attraction, because they become part of the association right from school.
And that's just so different than how the profession started, because it was, when we started as an association 25 years ago, we were attracting partners in firms, who were already established. And now those partners are sending the 3rd or 2nd or 4th, analyst through to obtain the CVA. And so that's how they've obviously grown, and the association has grown. But even looking forward in the profession, it's these very educated and talented students coming out of MBA programs that have the skills and the education and maybe don't know quite yet what to do with that training, and to be able to provide them that insight so early in their career and give them that opportunity is a wonderful investment in the future. So you guys have been busy running the AACVA over all of these years. Certainly you have some free time in your lives, family and things that you enjoy doing personally. Talk to us about a little bit about your personal selves and what you enjoy doing and when you're not conquering the world of valuation.
Valuation.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, by profession, I'm an investment banker. I kind of buy companies and sell companies, and as a hobby.
Hobby.
As a hobby.
Not knitting, baking.
Well, of course, for a price. For a price.
That's a good one.
We also cover Africa, I mean West Africa, for project finance and fundraising and all kinds of things, helping with company restructuring. On the family side, yeah, I'm a family man. I have two girls and a
Your
boy.
beautiful daughters with you.
Yes. I brought one of them actually.
Yes,
Yeah.
I met her the other day. I got surprised her when I asked her for a hug.
Yeah.
She's like, crazy guy. She's wonderful.
Yeah,
She's having a good time
exactly.
here.
Yeah, she's having a good time.
Good.
Yeah, and over the weekend I like to read around novels and also do swimming with the girls and the guy. Yeah, and also party a lot.
Okay.
Yeah, and
Well, you're in New Orleans. It's a party town.
Absolutely. So we would explore and make the best out of it. Yeah.
I will recommend a book that I just picked up. It's called, oh man, I just put myself on the spot. It's the story about the true Count of Monte Cristo. Okay. He was a mixed race in the 1800s, French and slave. And so I've learned a whole lot about the history of Haiti. Okay. And who is the guy who wrote the Count of Monte Cristo? Oh man, I should not have put myself on the spot. So we will slide this in as a slide and a cover for the book. But I'll give you the name of it. It's an incredible story about, gosh, what I just didn't fully understand about the history, particularly of France and Haiti and the slave trade and some of the laws about just marriage and even the whole story behind the Count of Monte Cristo and Napoleon. I mean, I'll get to that. Sorry to be sidetracked. Since you like reading, I thought I would, bring that out. Bennet.
Okay. I'm a management consultant. I do strategy, I do business valuation, and then I provide advisory services, helping companies look for money at a price. Of course, I have a company. Name of the company is Sync Consult. We operate from Ghana, but we cover Africa and any part of the world as long as we can get a relationship. In terms of what I do, all right, I think I'm adventurous. I went fishing yesterday.
Yes, you did.
Yeah. So that gives you an idea of how sometimes, because what I try to do is to do something which is not me, take me from my comfort zone, and then see whether I can cope and deal with it, because it really strengthens you, makes you resilient. All right. So that's that. I also play lawn tennis. Okay. Yeah, and I like learning. Yeah. So that's me.
So you went fishing on Lake Pontchartrain?
Pontchartrain, yes.
And you guys caught a redfish, I heard.
Big redfish.
You did?
I caught one.
So how was that?
My line actually broke. Yeah, but I managed to bring that fish up. And I actually got a stingray also at one point. And for me, it was like, wow. So
you caught a redfish, a big one I heard.
It was big.
And you guys got to take it someplace and fry it up and cook it and eat it?
But that's the whole reason.
The whole idea.
The whole reason for fishing was to get nice fish, have it cooked, and then see if we will enjoy it. And we did. Fantastic time yesterday. Good. Yeah, the adventure was good, the food was good. And also I would say the people who organized it, Dan, Valuators, and then there was Jeff, and then Todd. So we discussed business valuation whilst we were fishing. Nice. And to know ourselves.
You put the value on the fish you caught.
Yeah, I did. The intangible value was very high because it took us about half day. Now, if you look at the cost of the
Sure.
4 people in terms
yeah.
of, you know. So,
Absolutely.
so we did.
Yeah.
You know, so that's me. I think the other thing that I try to do is to really support people, support people to succeed. And so I'm actually bringing that into business evaluation, where you want to make sure that, you know, a lot more people join the association and then become successful. So we actually are sacrificing a lot. I mean, I have to thank Michael and the other governors, because if they were not behind the association, I'm sure we would have shut down.
Yeah.
So a lot of sacrifices, but I think it's all this whole idea that let's get, you know, people involved. Let's make sure we have people who are knowledgeable. And of course, we are now looking at the new generation, the next generation also, where we can't do the marathon anymore.
Yeah.
And next generation of business valuers who can now go to the company, take this up, and then just push, and grow the profession in Africa.
Actually, Bennet does something interesting he didn't talk about. I mean, Bennet lectures in one of the universities.
Okay.
And the last lecture, he used as a platform. When I say us, I mean Synergy Global Holdings. That's a company I founded together with 3 other partners in South Africa, and we operate in the West African zone. So Synergy goes to Bennet's class to provide motivational sessions for the students, and we tell them about real life and why the MBA should be transformational for you.
Sure.
And those are things that are quite empowering. And for 2-3 hours that we spend with the students in that lecture, everybody wants to dare to be different.
Good.
Everybody wants to dare to do something different to add value to society. So as part of our corporate social responsibility, we do outreach sessions, I mean, for students like that, to give them motivational sessions, and also to bring them up to speed in what is becoming dynamic in the world, and what they should look out for, what to expect, and how to position themselves to take advantage of the new generation or the new era. So I think that in terms of being able to project ourselves out there and to reach out to society, we're also doing something on the side, offering society some freebies as part of our corporate social responsibility, to grow people.
You actually brought this up. You know, I lectured at the university, and of course I would have gone quiet on that. I lectured strategic management, and what, like Michael said, is how to get people to move from their comfort zone and become, you know, big players, you know, globally. And of course, I brought him several times, and he's really been transformational. So we lecture, and then we have the corporate roundtable, you know. So it's all about helping people to become better than they are, you know. And that also helps all of us to become better people, because once you see others, you know, come up, obviously you need to also grow.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, you've been very inspirational to me over the years that I've known you. You know, getting to know each of you and supporting you, and you've been great colleagues and mentors. And I am very thrilled for my part in helping to support you and going forward to take NACVA and the CVA credential global. And collaborating to just continuing to build the esteem of your profession, our profession together, and supporting our members. Just personally, thank you so much for all of your work that you've achieved so far, and we're looking forward to so much more. You gentlemen are incredible, incredible guys, and we're just getting started.
Yeah.
Thanks, Brian. Thanks for having us.
Can I just say a word before you share this?
Absolutely.
I really want to say a big thank you to you also, because you've been a fantastic person. I mean, the feedback, you know, the support. I would say the support, because, you know, sometimes it's not very easy when you're out there and you're trying to reach out and you can't. Every time you respond, I mean, you've just been fantastic. And I would say keep it up. I guess what is important is to get you to Ghana.
Yes, sir.
So we need to agree on when you want to come.
Okay.
And then we get you in to come and then see what we are doing. We have a secretariat now. In fact, we set up a secretariat about 3 years ago, fully run by a qualified person. So there's a lot of support that we provide. You need to come to Ghana to see how, you know, we are growing the African chapter, you know, of AACVA.
I'd be happy to do that.
So, and I'm sure I'm carrying the thanks also from all our governors, because I'm sure you met Elsie.
I did.
You met Larry.
Yes.
You met Desmond. Yes, I think it's only, yes, so you met all of them. Okay. And of course, we'll take this message back to them.
Yes, please do. And for all of our NACVA members, We are just continuing to pioneer. The CVA is a global credential. The International Body of Knowledge for Business Valuations will be soon released to the membership, and the exam actually for the CVA also. So we're really pioneering to take the influence and esteem of our credential outside of the U.S. borders to continue to build opportunities for our U.S. members as well. So again, gentlemen, thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
We
Thanks for having us.
are excited to keep going forward and enjoy the conference this week.
Thanks.
And we'll just keep doing it.
All
right. We'll see you next time.
All right.